put my mic on. Can everyone hear me? Hopefully everyone can hear me at home now. All right, this is a sample of my compost. This is a testate amoeba, and it has a little, I don't know if you can tell, but it has little tentacles coming out and grabbing bacteria. So this is kind of cool. I don't know. There's another one over here. See how it's kind of decorative? It's like a lampshade or something. I don't know. But these little guys help eat the bacteria in your soil. And then when they go to the bathroom, they make plant available nutrients for your plants immediately. So it's kind of like free fertilizer. So that's pretty awesome. All right, I'm going to go ahead and go to my PowerPoint presentation.
What were those called?
These are testate amoeba. They're one of my favorite protozoa because they don't run away. Like some of them just zoom by and then you have to chase them around and try and figure out what they are. But these are very easy to spot by just about anybody, and they're good news in your soil, definitely. So let's see here. Okay, this one. Sorry. Okay, I do not know how to make the thing go. How do I? Do you know how to make a slideshow actually slide? The other side? I think this is in the way. Hold on. Making it bigger. Okay, like that. And then is it sharing?
Share your screen. It's not shared.
Oh, it's not sharing. I'm not sure what to do.
Okay.
Because now it's
As we're having some technical issues, I'm passing by a book and it goes over different amoeba, different photos from Matt Powers, who is a student of amoeba as well. He got to meet her in person, and it's one of the rare few because he is retired as of this year.
But it's
yes.
And it's good to see just what different amoeba can look like. They're different colors, they look like under different fluorescence, but that's if you have too much bacteria. It's
Okay, it's a Zoom question on that.
Let's go to that.
Okay. Today in our soil.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. I've made them, but I don't generally. Okay, great. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Okay. All right. So this is the biological approach to soil testing. So there are a lot of tests out there that tell you how much nitrogen you have or how much phosphorus you have, but biological is like how many bacteria do you have, and how many fungi do you have, and how many protozoa and nematodes do you have. And one thing I don't do is I don't do like a genus species identification. I only do functional groups. So it's a very broad thing, and it does not require the same level of knowledge. So the mission of the Soil Food Web School is to understand nature systems and to work with them instead of against them. You know, we're not trying to pound it into what we want to do. We're trying to figure out how to use it. Just like water flows downhill, you want to kind of figure out the water wheel instead of, you know, trying to scoop it back up in a bucket and take it back to the top. So we're working with the systems that are already there, and it benefits nature, plants, and us in a more efficient and productive way. And that's kind of the point, is to understand the system and then use the system, you know, in the least work intense way possible. So the school is founded by Dr. Elaine Ingham. It's at soilfoodweb.com. They've got little promos and videos and things like that if you're interested. And scientific research by her and other scientists led to the biological approach. So she has like 70 something plus research papers. So why do we need to know about the biology in the soil around the plant? Dirt is like the mineral portion, the sand, the silt, the clay, but the microbes living within the dirt give it structure, the ability to hold water and to give the water back to the plant when it needs it, and to convert minerals into plant available forms. That's what makes dirt soil.
When there's living organic matter in your soil, it holds 10 to 80 times as much water too. It's like a soil sponge, and they're helping pull out and hold on to things with their little grip, as we showed with their tendrils. They're gripping the water too, make it available not to themselves.
Yeah. So fungal hyphae they're very rigid, so they make little holes and pores in the soil, and they also shuttle water and nutrients around. So some of the things here are they enhance plant growth, they form aggregates, they help water flow, they store water, they filter the water so that it's not all muddy and it doesn't run down to the neighbor's yard. It stays in your yard. It fixes nitrogen, cycles nutrients, protects your plants because they're more resilient. They can handle having a week without water. They can handle maybe a little bit of shortage here because they know how to get it from those microbes. And they also help with the water cycle. So it'll rain more if you have more plants and life in the soil. So plants actually farm their own microbes. So you farm the plant farms the microbes. And the more microbes that exist in the soil to begin with, the more resources the plants have. They can pick and choose their partners to help meet their needs. If they only have like 3 different types of bacteria, and nothing else, that's going to be very hard for them to make meaningful use of those microbes to help them. And each set of microbes likes a different temperature range. So some will go to sleep while others wake up. It's kind of a cascading effect. And some like drier conditions and some like wetter conditions. And it's just a huge variability. So the more you have, the more robust your plants can be. And did you know that plants can only thrive when the fungal to bacterial ratio falls within their favored range? If you have a plant and it's so sick and sad, and it's like nothing you do is helping. I don't know if you've ever been there, but it's not got the right, sorry. It's not living in the right range. You can change the range. Sorry about the feedback there. But instead of going and like picking every single little weed out, you can change your fungal bacterial ratio in your soil, and then those plants will struggle and the ones you want will take off. Isn't that weird? So you don't have to do anything. You can just change, you don't have to do anything to the plant. You change the soil and the correct plants that you want will grow, and with a lot less effort on your part. So they control the area around their roots. They cultivate the desired organisms, and good soil management practices help. So if you need more fungal to bacterial ratio, you need a higher fungal content. One thing to do is maybe not till so much, because tilling destroys fungal hyphae. So yeah, so that's why no dig or minimal till is, preferable. So soil biological succession causes plant succession. So if you have mostly bacteria, then you're going to have mainly weeds, wildflowers, pioneer species, things like that. If you have something more of a balance, like a lawn, or like rye, oat, cereals, that's more of a 1-to-1 ratio. And we're talking about micrograms per gram of sample, and we measure them a little bit differently because a fungal hyphae looks very different from like a little tiny bacteria. So we have to like account for that when we do our measuring. But for example, melons and cucumbers are like a 0.6 to 0.75 fungal to bacterial ratio. And the more you get towards like a tree, the higher that ratio goes. And the more important the fungi are. If you have a plant, if you have like a really beat up piece of soil, you're going to want something like a brassica, an asparagus, something like that. And I have a little thing that I printed out later if y'all want to look at it, but it's got the different ones for vegetables. If you're interested in that. I just have one, but you can look at it. So, yeah. And so fungi are very important to soil health and to plant health. And how do you know if you have enough? You can look at it. If you have compaction, you probably don't have enough life in your soil. Like if it puddles when it rains and it won't absorb water, that's a clue. If you have a lot of erosion, that's another clue. If it smells really bad, it's probably not good. Like, because that's anaerobic. It's an anaerobic tell that you've got. So you can do biological soil testing. Like say you have an unknown plot of land, like it doesn't have anything growing in it. You want to know what the best thing to grow in that is. You can get soil testing done and we can tell you like what would be happiest in that area just from the fungal to bacterial ratio. Now you can add all of the wonderful things that that Ethan has, like you can adjust things when he has a very fungally dominant compost. That's going to push that fungal bacterial ratio higher. So not good for brassicas maybe, but great for tomatoes, for example. So, all right. And this is just a little thing from the Soil Food Web from the USDA. So sun powers the plants, and then the plants produce exudates like sugars and starches that they feed into the soil. They feed those microbes that they want, and those microbes in turn trade with them. They get them nutrients, minerals, and sometimes Dr. James White has shown that the bacteria even enter the plants and their outsides get stripped off and they kind of like almost eat the bacteria and then spit out the inside of it. It's kind of a weird thing. Oh, I'm sorry.
See the very bottom of that slide. I'm like trying to follow the numbers and the trophic levels and I didn't see it, sorry. And this is where the carbon is doing. Well, thank you.
Yes, it is. So if you're worried about climate change, you want fungi to sequester that carbon. Yeah. So obviously you want organic matter in your soil that helps feed the things that you want living there, microbes, the bacteria, fungi, protozoa, nematodes, and other animals. And you need those first levels before you can move on to the next levels, really. And also, if you just Google Soil Food Web, you'll find this. It'll be there. So let's see. I'm gonna move on. So protozoa and nematodes, flagellates, amoeba, ciliates. Ciliates indicate kind of low oxygen conditions sometimes, so you want to be careful of those. Bacterial feeding nematodes, fungal feeding nematodes, and predatory nematodes. Those are all beneficial, and you definitely don't want to kill them. They help with nutrient cycling. They reduce from the fungal bacterial ratio, they reduce the second number so that you have higher fungal to bacterial ratio. And then when they go to the bathroom, they fertilize your plants. So it's immediately just exactly what you want, what the plant needs. And it happens very fast. So let's see. So if you have a problem with an organism, the best thing to do is to populate beneficial and neutral organisms to help outcompete it and to crowd it out. If you have healthy plants that are making lots of great relationships with microbes, they'll be healthier and they will be able to, have a higher Brix or whatever higher sugars inside the sap, and then like aphids won't like them. They'll be like, yuck. The doctor, I think Tom Dykstra has like a webinar on that if you're interested. And I mean, stuff like that is just really amazing. And it's an armor for your plant. Beneficial microbes protect against disease. They protect against insects. They protect, they even help buffer like temperature issues and stuff like that. So if you do that, that's way better than like spraying poison all over them. So I think that's pretty much it. Do y'all have questions? Yes, sir.
How do you know if you have them? How do you introduce them? Only before the plant or after can you do that?
It's never too late unless it's dead.
What do you do?
So you can either make or find good compost that has lots of life in it, and you can top dress, or you can mix it with water and filter it like in a, say like a laundry bag or something. And then you can spray that from just like a little garden thing over your plant, and that will help protect your plant. As long as it has good stuff inside it. You can also, like, I don't know, it gets fancier the more money you want to spend, but for the most part, you can do a very low level, low cost thing, as long as you find beneficial, biologically rich compost. You can kind of make sure and kind of put that in water and then spray it around on your plants. And
There's different methods of doing it, absolutely, and it's very much like sourdough bread or just yeast and beer as well. There's different ways to activate it. Sugar is one of those ways. With the mycelium today, that's the already activated compost that we added to that structure. So mycelium is now already in there. And different companies show with microscopy, which is very important to see exactly who's in there at even certain ratios, so you can start understanding, maybe I need a little bit more of these guys compared to these guys, or what am I doing with my sugars that is activating the bacteria so highly, and what should I be feeding the soil instead? And you can activate soil, you can activate liquids, you can activate even humidity in the air with different algae that are out there. One of my favorites that we used last time in the last seedling structure was end soil algae, which is proven by Dr. James White in our research trials 100% of the time is an endophytic bacteria that is taken into the plant and starts living in it like a probiotic. Those are some of the best guys, but there are so many that we are still understanding why microscopy is truly important understanding. Even a few of those Venuses will give you so much more insight into just guessing on who you're feeding.
yes.
So someone on Zoom requested, maybe if we could repeat the question.
Yes, I'm so sorry.
But it's real quick. So
Okay.
I think the last question was how do we get?
When is it okay to add biology? Like when during the plant stage? It's best to do it before the plant exists, but it can be done at any time. But well, you got morning, you got evening. Yeah. What? Yep. Yes, Mary?
So my question is, I have blackland prairie soil
Okay.
and it's grassland. So, I noticed in the stores, the microbial things you can buy are more, for, tree, the biology of trees. So I would like to figure out what to add to my grassland that would be the correct biology. How do you bring that about?
Okay. So you asked,
The question.
okay. So Mary asked, how to get organisms that target blackland prairie soil rather than trees. Is that right? Okay. So, the biology of this. Okay. So the best way to do that is make your own compost or find compost that was made with materials from a successful pasture. And believe it or like something local. that will have things that are beneficial to your soil in it. Because local is best as far as that goes, because the organisms understand like within 100 miles or so and within the same ecological zone.
You're saying go scoop some up
You can scoop up as little as a teaspoon
and
and then start your compost process with that. Sprinkle it the little tiny amount, like throughout, because believe it or not, I mean, it's like trillions of bacteria and then at least a few hundred nematodes. And I mean,
and
and
or a sheet composter, so I would sprinkle it.
just wherever.
Area.
Yeah, you could. And it doesn't take very much. If you've got good conditions, bacteria can reproduce in optimal conditions every 20 minutes. They can double. Fungi every 3 hours. No, wait. Yes. Protozoa every 8 hours. So, I mean, you could double it.
Trying to add to that, I'm wondering about the same thing, like your seedlings. If it gives them a kickstart to go grass soil on a mature specimen, for specimen, sprinkle it into the whole way to your seedling. You can start that biology.
Okay. So you're asking if there's a way to prime seedlings or seeds by using the soil under a mature same species plant. You could do that as long as you feel like that's a healthy place. Then yes, it's possible you could get like fungi, like spores, to help make a relationship with the brand new plant. That would be excellent. You could definitely do that. I don't see any reason why you couldn't. Let's see. I'm gonna, does anyone else have questions? Yes, sir.
Yes, you know, algae is in lakes, I went down there, that like, algae, they're like trying to do and stuff. Is, the bacteria and the fungi and stuff like that, is that also present in algae? So I mean, could you take algae and put it in your compost pile and it would be a good thing?
Oh, okay. So he's asking if it's okay to put algae into a compost pile, and if it already contains, well, algae is another kind of life that's like a little bit different from those. But it is perfectly fine to use algae inside a compost pile, like to start with. There's not any problem with that, I don't believe, especially if you do hot composting.
I have tons of algae in my pond.
Yes, I would consider it a green, like like a higher nitrogen compared to like a dead leaf. Yes, let me see if I can share my other thing with you. Okay, we're back to the little guys. So,
We need to.
oh, did it not share? It says I am screen.
We need to unshare.
Oh, that. Oh, sorry. Okay. How do I unshare that?
Can everyone hear Bridget back there? Are you good? Not, I'm gonna make one other change.
All right, so go ahead, if you will.
Okay.
Okay.
We got it here. We'll use this.
I thought it was super loud, but I guess not.
You don't want this one?
No. Oh, it's back here. Let me unshare.
It says stop share right there. Okay, now we can reshare.
Yeah, but let me do this first.
Everybody hear that? No.
May need G-band. Oh, is that coming out?
Okay.
All right, let me, okay, now we'll
Want
share.
this one?
No. This.
Sorry about that.
No.
You
It's
didn't
not you.
speak up. Okay, so I'll try and be loud. So here they were asking for actual little microbes. These are testate amoeba right here and right here. And like I said, they like to eat bacteria. And see this guy, you could see his little, oh, is it still showing the slide? I don't know why. Okay, I'm gonna kill the PowerPoint. If I can. Oh, geez, what was that? What is that noise? Do I need to? I'm a little concerned.
About the power,
Like, is it like popping or something? Me? Okay. I don't know what's happening. Or why. It sounds like something is exploding.
Just turn that off.
Okay. Can, oh, maybe it's that thing that's, okay. Sorry, guys.
So there's food up here, there's watermelon and popcorn and other stuff. And some oh,
Test, test. Okay.
close that screen.
Okay.
There you go, nice to go.
That sounded good. Fine.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Good. Did you just say test?
I did, but it delayed by like a second and a half or something.
Oh,
It was gonna be unpleasant really fast.
all right.
So, okay, so I only have a few minutes left, but,
Yeah, we'll just continue.
so hopefully the people on Zoom can see me. Okay, great. So this here is a testate amoeba. Like I said, they eat bacteria. And hold on, something is weird with my screen. Let me see. I did have another thing that I took a photo of earlier. And this is a very nice fungal hypha. Right here from Ethan's compost that he was sharing with me. So I wanted to take a photo of that.
Can you tell us what that is?
So this here is fungal hypha. It's a very long strand. It has these little walls right here, like little pieces. And those are called septa. And so whenever a fungal hypha like makes more of itself, it walls a portion off and then it makes more, like it has a whole other compartment that it starts to make. And it's growing usually towards like a plant root or towards something that it can eat, metabolize. So those, you want those. That's very handy. Let's see. I don't know what else I've got in here, but the other things that you might be interested in are, I mean, testate amoeba are the nicest because they generally just don't run away. Yeah, it's probably a flagellate. That little guy's a flagellate. So a lot of these things are just bits of plants. These little round things are bacteria, the cocci bacteria. They're little just circles. This is a tiny bit of fungal hypha. That is a flagellate right there. And testate amoeba. This is another bit of fungal hyphae, and then just like bits of stuff, leaves, you know, because it's compost, there's not a lot of actual dirt in there. There's not a lot of minerals in there. Just because it's made of plant matter. It's just mainly plant matter. So
Little thing.
a little thing in the bottom, you said? Oh, trying to figure out which thing you meant. But yeah, there's a bunch of stuff. I know that bacteria sometimes have like a Brownian motion. They'll kind of shift back and forth a little bit. Yes, sir.
When you talk about compost, do you talk about big enough things like leaves and so on, or do you have to regulate it?
Okay, so he's asking, when I'm talking about compost, what do I mean? It just whatever you throw together, or if you have to inoculate it. It's usually good practice to take a handful of your compost that you like, that you find that has been beneficial in the past, and put a handful in your new compost. But you don't have to. You can just make whatever you want. I generally do thermophilic compost that kills weed seeds, pathogens, and then I usually do inoculate it. But whether it stands the test of time throughout the whole thing, you know, it's a yes. Do I see good results from commercial compost? I generally have not done a lot of compost testing except for my own compost. So I don't know if that helps. Yes, sir.
Someone on Zoom asked, what's the magnification?
Oh, what's the magnification? This is at 400 total magnification. So it's 10 on the eyepiece and 40 on the objective. And it is 395 micrometers wide by 210 micrometers tall, if that helps. This is also, this particular one is at a dilution of 5. So it's like a 1 part sample, 4 parts water. No. I mean, it's a big, I'd have to hunt around for it, or, I mean, I have other things, but I have to like hunt around for it. So, I wasn't sure how much time we would have because it's a lot. So, all right. Oh, yes.
So if I wanted to have my soil tested, where can I get someone like you to take a look at it?
Okay. So she asked, where can she get her soil tested and see what's in it? You can come to me, or you can go on soilfoodweb.com, and they have a find a certified lab tech. So anywhere you can go through that. But I have business cards if you're interested. I'm at soilagainllc.com. Yeah, and so help yourself. And because it's Austin Organic Gardeners, Ethan got a 10% discount for y'all. So. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
And that'll be listed on our member page on our website. When you become a member, there's a list of all the, you can hear me, right? Of all the different organizations that give us discounts. So we'll put that up.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Sure. And thank you, Bridget.
Thanks.
So we did 2 demos tonight before we started the meeting early, so that was fun. So if you don't know, we're in Austin Organic Gardener meeting in Zilker on the 2nd Monday of the month. We meet every month except December. And at 6 o'clock, we try to do some demonstrations where people can get hands-on and do things like that. So we just finished that portion. So we're going to get to the portion with Colleen coming up in a couple minutes. So we're going to do a little announcements. And the thing I like to do at the beginning of every meeting is ask anybody who's new and raise your hand and introduce yourself.
Everyone, I'm Bruce Berg. I'm gardening.
just figured out how to learn more, specifically how to do it.
Welcome.
Hi, I have a backyard now.
I cannot share. I can stop sharing.
You have a what, a backyard and garden? What's your name, Shay? Jordan, nice to meet you. Anyone else?
I'm good. I have a off-grid, little property, we're doing food forest, down in the big spring. That's my first time here, but,
So our announcements, if you didn't hear earlier, is our plant sale is in October. And it's the 19th, it's a Saturday, and it's right around after I'm thinking ACL, next weekend. It was kind of the one, maybe 2 weekends that were available that month. We're really happy that we got it in, and it's not in September, but it's still hot. And so as you heard earlier, we love it when people donate any kind of seed, things they started from seed or plants that they invited from their garden or extra bulbs or anything that they want to donate to our plant sale. We love that. It's our yearly fundraiser, and it helps pay for our speakers that we have every year. And we'll have a thing that'll go out on the newsletter saying, please click on this link to say what you can bring or if you can volunteer for the event. I appreciate anybody who wants to help with that, and let me know if you want to organize anything or be a part of that organizing team. So the other announcement we have is the garden. So we garden here at Silver. We have a community garden. What do you call it? Demonstration garden? Well, go ahead. I'll fix it.
Yeah,
Right here.
the garden center obviously has a lot of cool areas. They have an herb garden, think a cactus garden. But there is a vegetable garden that our club maintains, and it's down by the blacksmith shop, if you're familiar with the grounds. And we get volunteers together on Saturday mornings and go down there and do maintenance work. So it's a great way to kind of chip in and help the garden center here. It's also a great way to learn. You'll be working with an experienced gardener and meeting cool people, and we do just regular garden tasks for a couple of hours. Right now we're meeting at 8:45 till 10:30. That's summer hours for the garden center, and that'll be a little bit later. But to sign up for that, you can, it's through a system called Give Pulse, but you can get to that through our website. At the top menu bar, it says volunteer. And you can click there and you sign up for a date that works for you, a Saturday morning. There's the second, if we're going to be down there, there'll be an event in Give Pulse. And I think that's it.
Awesome. I'm going pretty fast. Okay, so Colleen, did you want to introduce? I'm sorry. Maybe you want to introduce? We do need a little tech minute, so yeah. So she's not quite ready, but I kind of do this. So give us about a minute. And we'll get Colleen going.
Stop it, making it. Got it.
Should we go ahead and turn this one on?
No, leave that,
Okay, it's ready. Yes,
and
but she's got to set her stuff up. No, no. Go ahead.
Okay. So next is Colleen Dieter. She is from her consulting company, which is Red Wheelbarrow. You can't hear me? Do I talk in this? What do I talk to? No. Now talk? Hello? Now? Okay. Okay, so Colleen Dieter is here from Red Wheelbarrow. She does consulting with people for like do-it-yourself gardening projects, landscape projects. She's also a certified arborist. She speaks around town at different gardening centers on various things, roses, fruit trees, organic gardening, which is what she's going to talk with us about tonight. She is also co-host of Horticulturati, her podcast that she co-hosts, and she also does a radio show on KLBJ AM that is also presented as a podcast. And again, she's going to talk with us about organic gardening, just a basic get started guide to organic gardening, with a focus on fall gardening.
Sure.
Okay, good evening. Good evening, everyone. I almost said good morning. Okay. I'm so glad to see y'all. Thank you so much, Austin Organic Gardeners, for having me. Hi, everybody on Zoom. How you doing? I'm gonna be not using technology because I am tired of it. And yeah, I know, we're gonna go back in time to 1999. When I was in college before PowerPoint. Yay. All right. So, and you'll just be seeing me on Zoom walking back and forth and actually moving around, but I'll come back and visit you on Zoom now and then. Okay, y'all. So what I want you to do is to please take a handout and pass it around, okay? And for those of you who are on Zoom, hopefully y'all can maybe send the handout to them somehow. We'll find out if there's a way y'all can get it.
Looks like this.
That, and then on the other side, there's some points.
It's backwards, but
Okay.
if you want to scan that.
Oh yeah, scan it. Okay, so if there's a way to do that over Zoom, you can scan what that says. And thank you so much for the great introduction. And I'm gonna go over that again. So I'm Colleen Dieter, that's my name. I'm a certified arborist, and when you become a certified arborist, you get to buy yourself a green laser pointer. Because they work outside in the sunlight and you can point at trees with the green laser pointer. So everyone's always amazed by the green laser pointer. There it is. So I own a business, it's called Red Wheelbarrow. You can visit my website at atxgardens.com. And atxgardens.com. I help my customers by alleviating their anxieties about their yards. Okay, so I help my customers are all do-it-yourselfers. I'm looking right at you with a new yard. And, I can come and tell you what to do with your yard if you feel confused and upset about it. It's supposed to be fun, so don't forget. So that's what I do, is I give people advice. I have a podcast called the Horticulturati. That is a tongue-in-cheek name, like the Illuminati or the Glitterati, okay, the Horticulturati podcast. So check that out if you like podcasts. And then every Saturday morning from 8 to 9 a.m. on AM 590 KLBJ, I have the Horticulture Hangover radio show where you can call in and ask me questions, gardening questions, okay? I recommend not getting up that early on Saturdays and listening to the show via SoundCloud instead. Because SoundCloud, there's no commercials and no Fox News. KLBJ is not okay. So, yeah, but I get a kick out of it. So, that's a lot of fun answering people's questions. And then I'm also the founder of Central Texas Seed Savers, which is an organization here in Central Texas that we're working to prevent extinction of plants that are important to Central Texans. So that includes, oh, thank you. Oh, that's so much more flattering for everyone on Zoom, not looking at my nose. Hi. Okay. So we help support the seed libraries around town. So if you're a vegetable gardener, any kind of gardener, native plants and trees, you can go to the library and get seeds out of the library. And you can also bring seeds back to the library. And I'll be coming back here to Awesome Organic Gardeners at some point to talk to you more about seed saving. But that's what we do, is trying to get gardeners to share seeds of plants that are not widely available commercially that do really well here in Central Texas. Okay, so thank you so much for being here and for having me. So now I'm going to get on with the topic for tonight, which is fall vegetable gardening for Awesome Organic Gardeners. And there's basically 3 keys to success that we're going to talk about for growing vegetables in the fall in Austin. And I'm so delighted to talk about this subject with y'all because it's been a long time since I did any vegetable teaching, and I'm very passionate about vegetable gardening, but I had to take a break from vegetable gardening because I needed to do some other things with my yard that I needed to focus on. So now I'm back to vegetable gardening. So this was perfect timing to brush up on my veggie garden knowledge with y'all. And so fall for me is the best time for vegetable gardening in Austin. Okay. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to be successful. And one of the ways is to use this planting calendar that is on your handout. And for those of you on Zoom, this is just the Travis County AgriLife Extension, Texas A&M AgriLife Extension from Travis County put together this vegetable planting calendar, okay? And for some of you, this may be very basic, but for beginners, it's really helpful. And it's good to review. The parts that are blacked out, those are the times when you should plant, okay? The parts that are blacked out, that's when it's planting time for that particular crop, okay? So it makes it really easy to see at a glance. I have this laminated and hanging in my shed at all times. So I really recommend just making lots of copies of these and just keeping them all over the place so that you always have it. It's really good use. It's the key to success for gardening in Austin, in my opinion. So we're going to talk more in depth about that. The second key to success that we're going to talk about tonight is planting vegetable varieties that mature in 80 days. Okay, because our seasons are short and the fall season is particularly short. We're going to talk about that. So you really only have about 80 days to get the plants going before the weather changes. Right, okay, so we're gonna talk more in depth about that too. And then, tip number 3 is just to know that Austin's average first frost date. Okay, so the first day in the winter when it's going to freeze is about November 15th. Okay, so believe it or not, that's just a few months from now. We might have freezing weather. So it's hard to get used to that idea. Okay, so we're gonna go in more depth into all of this now. Okay, so now I was invited to come and talk to y'all about fall vegetable gardening in light of the new USDA zone maps. Okay, so I was specifically asked to talk about vegetable gardening and fall vegetable gardening with the USDA zones. Okay? So here's what I want to tell you about the new USDA zones. Who knows what zone we are now in Austin? 9. It changed, right? Yeah, it changed to 9A. We were 8B, and now we're 9A. Okay. I'm going to explain what all that means. But what's really important for y'all to know is that the USDA zones don't really pertain to vegetable gardens.
Right.
Okay, there's not. Yeah, so because most of the vegetables that we grow are annual plants, meaning they only live for one season anyway, okay? The USDA zones have to do with plants that are perennial or woody, okay? Either perennial or woody or both. The plants that live for many years, year after year after year, okay? But because I was specifically asked to talk about that, I'm still gonna take a little time to talk about it with y'all. So we are zone 9A now, okay? And that means, you'll see if you look at the USDA zone, okay? That's the United States Department of Agriculture, zone 9A. That means it's the range of lowest average temp. Okay, that's confusing, right? What does that mean? So that means our average, a range of average, lowest average temp is 20 to 25 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, there you go. So who can explain to me what an average is?
So 11 degrees was an average?
No, 11 degrees is not average. Thank you, Mary. You're catching my drift. Mary Kramer's got the sarcastic answer. Yes, that's okay. That's where I'm heading. So, yeah, this is all about climate change. So we're talking really about vegetable gardening and during climate change now. Okay, and so I'm going to go through this with you. So that means if you go to the store, to the nursery, and you buy a perennial plant and it says it grows in zone 9, okay, that means a plant that grows in zone 9 can survive this range of temperature, okay? Should be able to survive that and not die, or at least the roots can survive even if the top of the plant dies, okay, and it should be able to grow back. Does that make sense, y'all? Okay, now we know what an average is. No one explained to me what average is. Right?
Put them all together and whatever the most of them are.
Yeah, you said it. Go.
You take a set of numbers, you add them all up, and then you divide them by the number of numbers in the set.
That's right. You take a set of numbers, you add them all up, and then you divide them by the number number of numbers in a set, right? Okay, that's how you get an average. So that's what the USDA did. They took a lot of information over the years and they added it all up. And this is the average low temperature in Austin now. And it used to be colder on average. Okay, so yes, you have a question in the back?
Yeah, in light of climate change, like how long can we anticipate the 9A to last?
I have no idea. She asked, in light of climate change, how long can we anticipate our 9A zone to last? And I don't know the answer to that question. We would have to ask the meteorologists and folks from the USDA. But I'm gonna tell you, in my mind, it does not exist at all. I'm not gonna tell you why. Okay, so remember also, when you're buying plants and it says appropriate for zone 9, or you're reading about plants in books, or reading about plants online, learning about something, this is only about cold. This has nothing to do with any other aspect of our weather. Okay, so if something says it's appropriate to grow in zone 9, you know what else is zone 9? Portland, Oregon. Okay, and there's some overlap in the plants that grow in Portland, Oregon, but not all of them. We can't handle 100-degree days, day after day after day. This only has to do with cold. It doesn't have to do with soil type. It doesn't have to do with drought tolerance, anything. It's only cold. Okay, you're being misled. Okay, we're all being misled, actively misleading. All right, so that's important. So I wrote down some facts about the weather we've had for the last 4 years. We're zone 9 now. I was gonna write this on the board, but I'm gonna stand over here instead, talk to the people on Zoom. So who remembers February 2021? Yeah, we all remember, if you were here, February 2021. Anything that was zone 9 was killed. Okay, there were all kinds of plants that we were used to seeing all over Austin that we were accustomed to. Okay, prickly pear cactus, agaves, pomegranates, loquats, there were all kinds of plants. Rosemary. Okay. December 23rd, 2022. 16 degrees. The high temperature that day was 32. The next night, the low was 19. The high was 41. The next night, the low was 25. That's about average. But we got 2 nights before that that will kill plants that are zone 9. Okay. January 2023. Do y'all remember January 2023? The ice storm. Okay, that was AKA the tree apocalypse.
Yes.
Okay. That killed anyone who was left after 2021. Yeah, if you had a loquat tree that was trying to grow back, probably not. Okay, did you think this past winter wasn't too bad? January 2024 was Austin's coldest January in 17 years. January's average temperature was dragged down by several freezes, including January 15th, when the high temperature at Camp Mabry, that day was 24. The low on January 15th was 16. The low on January 15th was 16 degrees. January 16th was 18. January 17th was 16. It's cold enough to kill plants that are hardy to zone 9. So I hear what they're saying, that on average, this is our new temperature range. But that doesn't mean that we're not getting colder below that on a regular basis now. For the last 4 years, we've had bad winters, okay? So it's extremely cold. So that's what y'all need to know about growing perennials. So I'm sticking with native plants, okay? Okay, try to grow native plants or plants that we know are very well adapted. And go with that. Okay, Ethan, you have a question? There you go.
I was also wondering with the other side compared to the ice storm to the cold, this has been probably the first year in 4 or 5 years we haven't seen wildfires of 3,000 acres to 10,000 acres, right?
Thank you for mentioning wildfires too. Ethan mentioned that this is the first year in many years where we haven't had severe wildfires too. We've had just a few inches above average rain this year. So what I'm trying to say, I'm not trying to be all doom and gloom. I'm just trying to tell you that gardening wise, I think it's still wise to stick with plants that are native here in Central Texas when we're talking about trees and perennials. And to look around at the plants that are growing in your neighborhood that are doing well and identify those and duplicate those. Like use some wisdom because we've been wiped out. So anybody that's alive right now, those are the plants that you want to go with, okay? That's for the perennials and the trees and shrubs. Perennials and plants made out of wood, okay? The woody plants. So that's what I want to say about USDA Zone 9, since I was asked to speak about it. But it doesn't really impact vegetables because most of the vegetables are annuals and they're going to die anyway. Okay, and there's all kinds of things that kill vegetables. Normal change in the weather will kill them in a normal way, and that's okay. Okay, does that make sense, y'all? It's very complicated. Ethan, yes.
Do you have a favorite mix for Native American seed for Texas natives?
Ethan asked if I have a favorite mix of the native seeds from Native American seed, and that's a great question. I don't, because I like all of them. But what I will recommend is another thing for Native American seed that they do. That company, so Native American seed is a really good native seed company out in Junction, Texas. And they also will ship you a box of live roots of really good aggressive growers, which are the plants that I really like in my style of gardening. And it's a really, really good deal. So I like the live roots from Native American seed. And there's a particular plant called Texas bluegrass that they sell roots for because the plant doesn't make seeds, unfortunately. And I don't think anybody really knows why it doesn't. They think that maybe they're only male plants and all the females are gone. So it only reproduces asexually through spreading. So they'll send you a box of live roots of Texas bluegrass and it's a wonderful plant. It's really lovely. It's one of my all favorite things. It's good.
That's the seed mix that we planted today.
Oh, awesome. Butterfly retreat mix is what y'all planted this today before the meeting. So that's so cool. I'm so glad. Okay. So now we're going to talk more about vegetables. Any other questions about USDA zones? Okay. Cool. So let's see. So let's talk about a little more in depth about the calendar. So y'all take a look at the calendar and you will notice that, yes?
This is actually the camera.
Oh, that's the camera? Okay, that's all right.
I'll do that.
Thank you. If you look, you'll notice, look at September. And you'll see how many different crops there are that you can grow on the border between August and September. It's a really good time for vegetable gardening, okay? So there's all kinds of things that you can plant in September. But you might be thinking, well, it's so hot and so sunny, how could it be that we should be planting? I plant a vegetable garden every Labor Day weekend when I'm vegetable gardening. I love Labor Day weekend for that, a little extra time. And so what's really important when you're fall gardening is to think about the change of seasons and use some shade protection. On the southwest and west side of the vegetable garden. So that way you can get some morning sun and then afternoon shade. That's the best thing for the vegetables. And when they're itty bitty, you know, they need a little bit of protection when they're just getting going. So that could include things like tall summer crops that are already maturing, okay, that you might already have in the garden, like okra, sunflowers, corn, or a trellis with melons and beans or squash growing on it, okay, that could cast a shadow onto the rest of the garden. But you can also grow under shade trees that are going to lose their leaves, okay? And I've had really good success with growing under deciduous trees. Just right at the edge of the tree canopy, right at the edge of the drip line, like the ends of the branches. So you can grow under a pecan tree. That's what I have at my house, or elms, because they're going to lose their leaves right when the temperature starts cooling off, and then you can get more light into the plants, okay? So that's one way you can do it. You can also use micro mesh or shade cloth on hoops over your garden. Do y'all know what micro mesh is? Have you ever heard of that? It's kind of like shade cloth. There's a white, there's micro mesh is white and it has real small holes in it, so it lets air through, but it keeps out bugs.
Is it called remake?
I don't know. She asked if it was sometimes called remake. I don't know what remake is. No, but I've heard good things. I have never used micro mesh, but I've heard good things about it. Or a shade cloth over your garden. You can use like a PVC hoop. I'm going to draw a little picture. So if you have a vegetable garden that's, often people have vegetable gardens that are rectangular. This is a side view. Okay, so maybe it's made out of bricks like this. Okay, vegetable garden. Okay, here's your plants. Looking great. Okay. Then what you do is sometimes people will put a PVC pipe or a wire or something like that over, like that, like just bent over. Or rebar, you use rebar, steel rod, okay, like that. And I'll just put a series of hoops like that over the garden. And then you can attach fabric to it using like real strong clamps, okay? So that's a really good method for shading the garden. But you have to take that cover off every time you want to do something. You know, so it's kind of a pain in the butt, okay? So I've also had customers of mine who've made covers for the garden like that. They had a square garden bed, 4 foot by 4 foot, and they put hoops going like in the shape of an X across, and then they put like screen, metal screen on the hoops, like a window screen, and that would shade the garden and also kept out large insects and squirrels. And they could just reach down and lift the whole thing off of it when they needed to work on the garden, but they couldn't grow anything tall. So that's a downside. So, so all different ways to shade the garden. So just give the garden a little shade, and then make sure you're covering the soil to keep it cool. Okay, so you want to cover the soil with some mulch. I like to use tree leaves, like shredded tree leaves, make a really nice mulch for a vegetable garden. You can use coarse textured compost, since we were talking about compost earlier, y'all. When I make my compost at home, I'll harvest the compost from my compost bin when it's still kind of chunky. And I don't screen it. I just put it right on top of the garden. And then that chunkiness kind of acts as a mulch. And the point of the mulch is to keep the soil cool in the summer, but it also keeps it warm in the winter too, and helps hold moisture in the soil. And then it breaks down because our soil microbes are there. They'll go up and start to eat it, and they're on the compost too, so you're inoculating the soil with the compost. So some people like to screen their compost and then mix it with the soil. But I've had a lot of success with just putting a chunky compost on the top. I'm so glad you're nodding in approval. That's great. Okay, so so that's it. And when you first plant seeds, you need to move the mulch out of the way. Okay, so I'm going to draw a picture of that. So if you're like you made your vegetable garden all nice with a nice soil, and you added some mulch on top, you just need to push the mulch out of the way. Okay, just scooch it off to the side, just like this. Can I demonstrate? Just like this. Just like that, and then you plant your seeds, and the mulch just sits off to the side for a little while until the plants get their first true set of leaves. Okay, so when the seeds first sprout, here's the ground. Okay, here's the ground, y'all. All right, and then the seeds first sprout, and they get their first set. These little leaves that come out here, they're not really leaves, they're called cotyledons. And they're actually part of the seed that comes out. And they're there to feed the plant at the beginning until it can get leaves of its own. Okay, so those are called, they're also sometimes called seed leaves. All right, that's the part that comes up first. And then the next set of leaves that come out usually look completely different. Like something like this. Something creative. Okay. And that's when you know it's okay to come back in and put your mulch back around the little plants. So you can come in and just push the mulch back over. I prefer to not let it touch the plants, but that's a little too much attention to detail. You just come back and push it back over so that you're covering the ground around the plants, protect the soil from cold and protect the soil from the heat. Okay, does that make sense, y'all? That's how you know. Okay. Okay, good. Any questions about that? All right. Okay, so I decided to Google. One of my favorite things to do is to help people figure out, make sense of all the information on the internet about gardening. So I decided to Google Austin's first average frost date. And it brought a wide range of results from varied authorities, to say the least. Okay, so the range was from November 15th to December 2nd. That's a pretty big range. And just to show you how hard it is to get good information, you know, the main takeaway from that I want you all to be aware of is to be ready for cold to come. Start getting ready for cold to come in October. Okay, so keep that really simple. Don't overthink it. All right, so in October, you want to start getting ready for freezing weather. Start getting ready so that you're prepared for November in case there's an early freeze to protect your little plants. Okay, so it sounds so far in advance, but you won't regret it because usually the first freeze comes very suddenly. Everyone's caught off guard, and you're like driving home from work, and someone will text you and say, "Oh my God, did you hear it's supposed to be 30 tonight?" And you're like, "What? Oh no." And so you have to get it ready. So you want to be set, you know. So basically, a lot of people will use like floating row cover, which is just a nice thin fabric that's sort of the professional type of fabric that people use to cover their gardens, called floating row cover. Okay, you can use sheets, like I usually use sheets from Goodwill or Savers, you know, go buy some sheets or something like that. So awesome creative reuse. Thank you. Good suggestion, Mary. You can use blankets. You can also you could get more advanced if you decide you really love gardening. You could create hoops, like the ones I drew earlier, and put polyvinyl plastic over them. That's what a lot of farmers do. Farmers grow in hoop houses, high tunnels. I don't like to use that much plastic. You can also grow stuff in pots and bring pots inside too. A lot of people do that. You can get lightweight pots. So you have to find the system for protecting the plants from freezing weather that you can afford and that works for you and aligns with your values. Does that make sense, y'all? So try to keep it as simple as possible. But what I really want to drive home is the most important thing that you can do when there's going to be a freeze with your vegetable garden is to water it. Okay, so you just water that vegetable garden before the freeze. So if you can't do anything else and you're scrambling trying to get covers, just water it. Because if you think about it, a plant that's dehydrated is going to freeze faster than a plant that's well hydrated. Okay, so imagine you have an ice tray, ice cube tray, okay? And you fill half of the ice cube tray just halfway with water. And then you fill the rest of the ice cube tray full of water. The one that you only filled halfway is gonna freeze faster than the larger volume of water, okay? So if your plants are fully hydrated, they won't freeze as fast, okay? Yeah.
Another example, image for this, like the cooking, you know, if you can thaw a chicken much faster in hot water, you can just let it sit out.
Ooh,
It's
that's
the same
interesting.
way that eat the ground, and then go through that calm water, the plant faster than there.
Right, so the water, that's a great point too. And for all of you on Zoom, the next really good point is that the water in the soil too is going to radiate heat and warm the air around it. Even if it's cold water, it's kind of counterintuitive, but the more moisture there is in the air, the more it's going to warm the air around it, right? So it's going to moderate the temperature and help your plants. So watering the plants is more important than covering them, okay? So everybody thinks to cover right away, but watering is the most important thing, okay, y'all? So like I said, keep it real simple. And what happens when the plant freezes is basically the water inside the plant freezes, turns to ice, and because water expands when it freezes, it basically busts open all the plant cells and kind of rips the plants apart from the inside. Okay, so that's why trying to prevent that from happening is important. Now, okay, so going back to the calendar, make another point here, is a lot of the plants that are on the calendar for fall planting are plants that can tolerate light freezes, okay, on their own, and they are adapted to cold weather, all right? And so like broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, all those cold crops, or the cruciferous vegetables, the brassicas, and that whole family, they're very well adapted to cold weather and really can survive without much damage down to about 30 degrees or even 29. They're okay. So that's all factored into this calendar too, and that will help you. Okay, some of the warm season vegetables are going to die no matter what you do when it gets cold. Okay, and that's really important for folks to understand when they're beginning gardeners, because they'll think that they did something wrong, you know, because the plants died, but they're supposed to die when it gets cold. So things like melons, things like squash, pumpkins, they're sweet potatoes, they're all gonna die when it gets cold, and that is okay. All right, does that make sense, y'all? So follow this. All right, so let me get back to, how am I doing on time? Ooh, that's great. So that's what I want to talk to you next about. Varieties. Okay, so plant vegetable varieties that mature in 80 days or less. All right, so if you count back, if you look at a calendar and you count backwards from the average first frost date, which is around maybe November 15th, maybe December 2nd. It's kind of like November 15th if you live outside of town in a low place. It's gonna be colder. It's really December 2nd if you're in town. Before I was a consultant, I was a personal gardener. So I had a set group of customers who all had really complicated yards and they needed like a true gardener to come and take care of them. And they were all high end. And so they would have big holiday parties, Thanksgiving parties, you know, Christmas parties and New Year's Eve parties and stuff like that. And I know that time of year really well because when the freeze would come, all the beautiful perennials and everything that had been blooming in the yard, all the tops died. The tops of the plants died and it looks really ugly. So I would get a lot of desperate phone calls from customers saying like, I'm having my Christmas party tonight. Can you come and cut everything back? And yeah, so that's how I remember when the first freeze is. It's usually between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But there's been years, I lived in Austin for 20 years. We've had years where there were no freezes too, where it never got cold in town. So it just varies. The weather here has always been extreme and it's getting more extreme. It's just more. So it's the same as it's always been, just more. It's extra now. Does that make sense, Dawn? Okay.
The biggest thing I've noticed
Yeah.
is that, the plants that you have might be winter plants, but the extreme temperature from an 80-degree day to a 30-degree day will kill one of those winter adapted plants because of the drama of that shift.
Yes.
So
There's
covering them for the shift, even though they're winter adapted.
right. Mary Kramer just stated how she's noticed that, now that the weather's gotten more extreme, the change comes so fast that there's could be like, how many degrees did you say in one day? Like 50-degree change in one day. And a plant that normally can tolerate extreme cold,
They don't have time to harden.
they don't have time. They don't have time to adjust to it, and that's real hard on them. I remember that even from the early aughts. We had a couple of winters like that killed plants that normally would be fine. They just didn't have time to prepare. It got cold so fast. You have 80 degrees one day and the next day is 27. They can't deal. So I will explain to y'all what I mean by varieties and planting varieties that mature in less than 80 days. So if we counted back from November 15th on the calendar, 80 days, well, that puts us somewhere in September. Okay, so if you're planting in September, you'll know that you'll get a harvest from these plants before there's a hard freeze that might kill them. Okay, so especially stuff like squash. I love growing squash in the fall in Austin because there's less chance of squash flying boarders finding them. So there's a type that I really like. I got some seeds just so I would remember to tell you, called Tatume squash. This is one of my favorites. These are from Baker Creek heirloom seeds, but I've also gotten them from Botanical Interests before. It's called Tatume. It's Tatune. And I'm going to use that as my example, how to explain what a variety is. So it's a type of squash, and the botanical name, it's Cucurbita pepo. It's okay, you don't have to know Latin. Unless you're a pope. And then, can you all see this? It's up behind the flag.
Yeah.
Okay.
Say that you do it so we can see that.
Okay, so here's the botanical name. It's Cucurbita pepo. This is the species. Okay. This is the genus. And this is the variety. Okay. There's also a term. Okay.
What was the first one you said?
This is the species. And this is the genus. Okay. There's also a term you may have heard. That's the term is cultivar. Okay. And cultivar is a portmanteau. Who knows what a portmanteau is? Shout it out, Ben.
Suitcase.
Suitcase, yeah.
Hanging your coat.
You put, yeah, you put two, sport, like sport. It's two words that get mashed together. It's cultivated variety. So there's some varieties that come about naturally. They're referred to as varieties, okay? But then there's other plants, especially vegetables, that are domesticated plants that were developed by plant breeders, and they're called cultivars. They're cultivated varieties. So plant breeders made them, okay? They're domesticated. They're just like dogs or cats. They're just like more like dogs, like pugs, you know? Pug didn't come up on its own. No, it didn't happen naturally. Pug dogs, they don't exist in the wild. They were bred by humans for a particular purpose, to sit on your lap and love you, right? So we have all these vegetables that have been bred for good flavor, for uniform harvest, for their shape and size, et cetera, for disease resistance. They're all domesticated pretty much, but there are some that came up on their own. And so a lot of times these two words are used interchangeably. And that's okay for home gardeners as a point of reference, you know, that's fine. But just so you know, there is a difference. And there are wild varieties that come up on their own and get put into production. And then there's also ones that were made on purpose that are called cultivars. Okay, so all of these kind of squash, there's gonna be hundreds of different varieties. They're all real closely related. They share this species and genus, okay? But this part, they're gonna have some different characteristics that qualify them to be a different variety. And that's one of the things for me that makes vegetable gardening most fun is that you can grow varieties of plants that vegetables that you can't get at the store, right? So things like the Tatume squash which is a round zucchini. Okay, that's fun. And they're very hollow inside. They're really good for stuffing. Like you cut them open and stuff them. You know, some rice and stuff. It's good. So that's a lot of fun. But they're closely related to zucchinis, your yellow squash. You can have straight neck squash, yellow or hook neck squash, and they're just going to have different varieties. Okay, yeah.
I always thought, because I grew a lot of Tommy squash in the gardens at school. I started it right in high school and with the special ed department, but I thought that they were pumpkins. I mean, they said two Tommy squash, and I got it from a Hispanic lady, and I've been growing them ever since. But they look, when they get big, they look just like a pumpkin.
They do, yes, they look just like a pumpkin, yeah. And the pumpkins are, I think there's other types of cucurbitas. Some of them are cucurbita, the genus is Maxima. And there's other ones too that I can't remember off the top of my head. So, but they're all in the same species and they can cross with each other to make hybrids. And if I come back to teach the seed saving class, we talk more in depth about that. How they're related. Yeah, January. So, yeah. But that's important for y'all to understand the varieties and that different varieties, some varieties are going to mature faster than others. Okay, so when you're looking at seeds, seed packets, trying to decide what to grow, if you can find the information on the seed packet somewhere, hopefully will tell you how many days on the seed packet. So here I have a seed packet for arugula. This is also known as wild rocket. Okay, that's like a common name. The variety is called Rocky. Very cute, right? A lot of times the varieties are trademarked even. If it's a plant that was bred, they'll come up with clever fun names for them so that you will buy them. Okay. That's the American way. So this is, the botanical name for this is Diplotaxis tenuifolia, doesn't matter. And then the variety would be Rocky, okay? So I'm looking at the seed packet and right here it just says, frost tolerant, that's good, 30 to 50 days. Okay, it doesn't say to maturity or anything like that, it just says days. So you don't know if you're a new gardener and you pick this up, you're like, what does 30 to 50 days mean? That's what it means. Okay, so that's a good one for us here, right? Because you'll get some for sure before the first freeze, and it's probably going to survive a light freeze. Okay, yeah.
Something that I have noticed with planting seeds in the fall is the days are getting shorter and shorter. And some of those vegetables that come up, it takes them a long time to get going or to reach maturity, more so than in the spring when the days are getting longer. So if you're looking at the seed packet, how can you take that into account?
Oh, that's a great point that I had not considered. So she said that she's noticed in the fall when she plants, it takes longer for the plants to mature because of the shorter days, the shorter amount of daylight going forward. So how do you take that into account? I mean, I think that's one of the things I appreciate about botanical interest seeds in particular is thinking about range. 30 to 50 days, 30 to 50 days. There's so many things that can influence the true maturity of a plant of days to harvest. I was thinking about it too with the squashes. You could get lots of flowers on your squash plants, but if there's bad weather, like a lot of rain, if there's a tropical storm or something like that and the bees can't fly, that's going to delay the days to maturity for you, because then the plants have to make more flowers and then the bees have to come back. So you might be a week late sometimes with the squash. So there's a lot of variables in that, and I'm glad you brought that up. I really try to get everything planted Labor Day weekend so that there's still some longer days in September, you know, and usually we get some tropical storm rain too that helps all the seeds come up. So, but it's really just a sort of a, oh, what am I trying to say? Point of reference. Yeah, thanks. So yes.
I have a comment from Zoom.
Oh, great.
Someone learned that in the past to add 2 weeks to the days to maturity with fall planting due to a shorter day length. So that maybe there's a range, it would be the upper end.
That's really smart. Okay, so the person on Zoom said to add 2 weeks to the days to maturity if you're planting in the fall to account for the shorter days. That's really smart. I hadn't thought of that. I appreciate that. So, so that's what the varieties are, y'all, and you want to look for the quick maturing varieties for most crops. I mean, that's a good guideline for any time of year gardening, is to get the plants that mature faster because our seasons are so short here. Unless there's exceptions. There are some exceptions, like the plants that really love heat, like okra or the winter squash, that take a really long time to mature, like something like pumpkins and spaghetti squashes and stuff like that sometimes can take like 120 days, but that's okay because they can grow through the summer. Okay, so there's some exceptions, but in general, you want to look for stuff that is going to mature in 80 days or less. Okay. The other thing that I'll tell you is you'll want to look for stuff at the seed libraries. Okay, because that means somebody else was successful with that plant, successful enough that they could bring seeds to the library to share with others. So the plant went through its whole life cycle happily. So if you go to the library, you're probably going to get plants that are going to be successful too. So you're getting stuff from local people.
Plant stands.
Oh yeah, plant stands have seeds as well around town, and little seed libraries can be really good. Yeah.
How about local farmers markets?
And
would you consider their fruits, veggies as cultivars, or would they be more as depending on those?
I would ask, Ethan asked if you went to the farmer's market and you got, you know, locally grown veggies, if you could take seeds from those vegetables to plant. I would ask the farmer first. There's a lot of local farmers that will grow vegetables where you can plant the seed and they will, quote, come true to seed, which means like the seed that you plant will grow into a plant that makes fruit that looks like the plant that you bought from the farmer, right? So let's say you buy a watermelon. Let's say you buy a watermelon from the farmer at the farmer's market and it's orange, okay? It has orange flesh instead of pink or red, okay? And it's very exciting and really cool. And you take the seeds from the orange watermelon and you plant it, then that plant will grow and it will make watermelon, but it might not be orange. Okay, it may not come true to seed, so you have to ask the farmer. If it's an heirloom, like open pollinated variety, it probably will come true to seed, but it might cross with other watermelons and might have something totally different. Some farmers, even small local farmers, will grow hybrids because they have unusual growing conditions. And I'll talk more about that in January. You'll have to come see me when we talk about seed saving. But like I was just talking to a farmer recently, they grow in high tunnels and they have to use hybrids that will grow in the high tunnels for particular conditions. I'm not happy about it, but that's what they'll do. So they don't always come through to seed, but you can also experiment because that's part of the fun of vegetable gardening. So looks like we're coming up on time, y'all. I want to go over a few things here. I'll show you a tool that I really like. I'll demonstrate, I think I'm sort of here. This is called a Japanese weeder, okay? And I use this to do all my vegetable planting. So it's really nice because you can use it like this, like flat, okay, to smooth the soil out. And you can use it to move the mulch out of the way. You're gonna plant seeds. You can use it to flatten. You can use it to pull up big groups of tiny weed seedlings, okay? And then you can also use it to plant. Oh, sorry guys. Wake everyone up, okay. You can use it this way, pointy, down to plant little 4-inch pots or 6-packs, okay? And you can use it to make furrows to plant seeds too, the pointy part. So I use this to do all my vegetable planting, pretty much. And I have a new feature on my website at atxgardens.com. It's called Colleen's Favorite Things. And it's all links, Amazon links, and I get commissions from Amazon links. So, so if you go to my website and buy one of these through Amazon, then I get like 11 cents. So, but I appreciate it. It's better than nothing I usually get. So there you go. The Japanese weeder is really great. I love this tool, so I really recommend that. And I just hang it over my pruner holster like that. Okay. So I want to tell you about that, and then I want you to visit centexseedsavers.org on October 12th. We're having our annual seed swap from 11 to 1. It's October 12th. We've been doing it since 2018. October 12th from 11 to 1 at the Central Library downtown, right over there. Is our big seed swap, annual seed swap. You can come and get free seeds. You can bring seeds if you have seeds. You don't have to have seeds to participate. Okay, it's really fun, and you get to have lots of good conversations with all the gardeners who want to tell you all about their seeds. It's really fun. So check that out, and check out the Horticulturati and the Horticulture Hangover, okay? And that's me, I'm Colleen Dieter. Thanks for having me.
Free orchids over there, if anybody wants. And don't forget, if you want to take some of these to go home and.
We have plenty more ceilings. I made a few while we have speakers. It'll have the
Grow some stuff for our plant sale. Thank you. I don't know if you got a chance to. What?
There's a pocket.
I know, I don't know. Okay. What's that?